What's up, you guys? Wait a second or two before I start chatting. But welcome back to my channel. It's Ali, y'all eccentric nomad. Nomading all the way back into the United States. So I am filming today from the US of A. But we're going to be talking about something fantastic, how to get to Greece, or how I got to Greece under $25. So y'all know my goal is to show you guys ways to well, first of all, how to go from being a tourist to a traveler to nomad to a slow mad, but basically how to go from living the life of just vacationing to living a life abroad long term. And I do that just by showing y'all what I'm doing every day with my life and just some of the cool things that are made available to us, when we travel because of our passport power, access to locations, proximity, all of that stuff. And so, so I want to take some of the time to share with you guys, ways that I move around abroad and, whether or not you can, take some of that information and utilize it for yourself. So today, again, we're going to talk a little bit about Greece because for the first time I popped into Greece. And, not everybody, but quite a few people aspire to go to Greece for various reasons. And if y'all are like me, when you search and you like online and you like, let me see how much this ticket is going to cost, that ticket price can discourage you from going not only to Greece, but to a number of different places. And one of the things that I think is that I love to share, and it happens to be really cool, beneficial to people who travel, especially long term, or multiple places at one time, or within one travel vacation term, or travel event, if you want to call it that, is what you can do when you get to certain areas, like how many things just completely open up. All right, so you guys know I've been traveling for over a year. I've been traveling for 3, nomading for 3 really, and this last stint, I came back to the States last year, and of course left, not of course, but of course left again. And now I'm on like these 1-year stints. Like I at least like to be gone for a year. I happen to have had to pop back into the States each year for different reasons. And I'm hoping like this time, I know I'm planning to be gone for a year because that's easy. Being gone for a year is like a piece of cake once you do it. Once you get started, you realize how easy it is to live abroad if you're adjustable, if you got an adjustable spirit and mindset. But I'm hoping that this time around, I can take care of things that I need to take care of where I am rather than coming back to the States. So that's my goal, and I'm learning as I go, different places that I can do, or different ways, excuse me y'all, different ways that I can take care of business that will keep me make it easier so I don't actually have to travel back to the States. And that's my goal. If I don't have to come back here just to, update. And that, you can update passports in many different places. And sometimes it's faster abroad than it is when you go back home. But just different things that start to expire. And you're like, okay, I need to make sure I have that before I go back. Like driver's licenses and things like that. Can I take care of that stuff? This go round and make it easier, or utilize some of these online options that we have available. But we're not here to talk about that. That's kind of just my planning, the way that I kind of decide what I'm going to do or where I'm going to go. And so first, if you guys are new to my channel and you like to see this type of content where I talk about places that I've gone, how I get there, how you guys can do the same, click the subscribe button, the like button, the thumbs up button, like, subscribe, the notification bell so you know when I go live again or post a new video. And tell a friend if you guys don't mind. I'm trying to get more consistent. But since I've been back in the States, this video was supposed to be on Monday. It is now Friday. Every day has been hectic. Oh, excuse me. Every day has been hectic and tiring. And even today, like, I didn't do a whole lot today, but I'm tired. Like, I'm I don't know, I think it's like 2 days ago, finally catching up with me. And this heat, it's like 97 degrees here. Not that I haven't been in tropical heat, but this is like a different heat. So, but for the last, this year alone, I've been in a couple of different countries, and I've ended up this last, I don't know, 3 months, let's just say 3 to 4 months in Asia, and then I was in Vietnam, and then I went to Thailand. And then before coming back to the States, because I knew I had to come back for a major event that's happening. But before I came back, I decided to make a run through a couple of other countries that I know that I wanted to check out. But I kind of just wanted to do a little dry run to see if I like it enough to come back. And it was the Balkan countries. So Croatia initially was like my plan, and Montenegro first, because I've been wanting to go to Montenegro for some years now. Not sure why that one just stands out in my head so much, because it's not like this one thing that I want to go and do there. It's just something about it that I don't know. I want to go and visit. And then Croatia, because everybody talks about Croatia. Croatia is like the new buzz country. And then attached to that was Albania, because Albania has become like, it's up in the chatter. You hear about Albania a little bit more now. So I said, well, let me see if I can pop through those countries on my way home, and then decide if I want to visit again. So y'all know that one of the things I pay attention to is how long of a visa do we get right out of the gate. And Croatia, I think we normally would get 90 days. However, Croatia has a try not to yawn digital nomad visa for 12 months for U.S. passport holders. I believe so, 12-month digital nomad visa. Montenegro, we get 90 days visa free. In Albania, we get 12 months visa free. You don't have to prove your income. You don't have to fill out any paperwork and apply for a visa. You don't have to leave the country every 3 months, every 6 months, whatever. You go and you get a year. 360 days. So that one sat really high on my list. And so then I was like, oh, let me check a few other things and see, whether or not I'd like it. So muddling right along through all of that stuff, decided that I was going to go check it out before I came back to the States. So I did. So as I was checking things out, you kind of look at a map and for me, I noticed proximity because then I'm like, oh, well, where can I go from here if I like it? What can I do? What's the benefit of being here? So yeah, we get a year because oftentimes what happens, you get a year or you see some benefit and then everything else is like, oh, I see why they're offering that because everything else sucks, right? But I was like, well, what if I like it? What's nearby? What can I do? What's the cost? Sometimes you go to these places that aren't, huge names, and the flights are ridiculously crazy, or moving around is really tough. You can't go places. It's not as free flowing as you're used to, or maybe there's differences in uh, belief bases, whether it's political, even though you don't necessarily get involved with politics in different countries, is still good to know, where, kind of where they sit. And then also religion, what is their practice? Because you want to make sure things, more and more I travel, the more, certain things are really important to me to know. And so I was sitting and looking, I was like, oh boy, so they offer this great visa, but am I gonna like it? And so as I looked, I was like, oh my God, it's like next door to Greece, which I've always wanted to go to. And then I was like, it's right across from Italy. I've always wanted to go. A little bit further north, it's Hungary. Bam. Over to the east, there's Turkey. And I'm sitting and going, well, now. And so I started like using my little thing to check out and see what options, what's the cost, where can I go, how easy can I move around. So I'm gonna tell you, like, my first discouraging thing that when I was doing my checks and balances to see, how accessible some of these other places I want to visit are, trying to figure out how I was going to get from Albania to Montenegro and do it where, I want to keep I got a budget. I'm trying to, trying to get these dollars to spread. And, so I don't want to. So for example, I was coming from Thailand and flying to Albania. I was able to get and this is kind of high. Well, it's high season. So I take that into consideration. The flight ended up costing me about 500. It was like 140. I used points. So $140. But yeah, I used points. So ultimately it was like 446 or something like that, $400 something one way. And I booked it last minute. Booked it like a couple of weeks before I left. And then determining my flight back to the States. But in there, I was like, ooh, I want to go to Montenegro. And so I started looking at Montenegro, and from Albania, it was like, okay, well, can you take a bus over? Can you take a flight? And the flights it was like nothing direct from one major city to the next major city. And the prices were $200 or more than $200. And I was like, that just doesn't make sense. And I was only going to be here like 6 days for each country. I was going to like try to pop in and out because I needed to be back to the States at a certain time. And I was like, oh, this is starting to feel a little discouraging. And then I was checking with some people just to see what they thought, and everybody just spoke so highly of Albania and spoke so highly of Montenegro, and they were like, oh, and when you get there, rent a car, it's really easy, and move around because everything that you want to see is going to be outside of the cities. And so I'm starting to get pumped up. I'm getting excited, and I'm like, okay. So let me just leave it open, which is, if y'all know me, that's kind of what I do, is I at least get there, and then I figure out what I'm going to do after I get there. And that's kind of what happened is I knew there were a couple coastal cities I wanted to check out. And as I was checking out the coastal cities, that's when I noticed how close Greece is. And this other little island in Greece, well, one of the many islands of Greece, is literally 30 minutes from Albania. If you don't cross the border, if you just do, a water country hop, I guess. And so I became really intrigued about that because I was just like, okay, wow, the place I want to go to, Montenegro, is not necessarily available. It's not really exactly the well. It's available. It's just not the price point I want, and that so discouraging. Like, oh, I really want to go, and a lot of people that I was checking with and asking about their experience spoke very highly of you got to go to Montenegro. You really should check it out, especially the coastal area. These places have, apparently lots of history and different things like that. And I was like, okay, maybe we'll have to skip it for this trip, which I'll tell you guys now. I did skip Montenegro on this last trip. I was in Albania for 11 days. So I had like an 11 to 12 day gap before I came back to the States. So in that 11 to 12 day gap, I was like, okay, so, what do I do? Do I check out multiple cities? You guys know me. Y'all know that if I can, I'm going to bounce around. Why? Because I'm not just going for a quick vacation. Sometimes I'm going for a quick vacation and that's it. Like when I went to South Korea and Japan, I know I'm not going to live in South Korea or Japan unless there's some job or something like that I end up taking or something like that, which may or may not happen. But I knew it was just a vacation visit pass through. So that was cool. So that was for a whole different reason. I know I'm probably going to be in a couple spots because of however many days I have. But if I'm going to a place and I'm looking at a 12-month visa opportunity, I kind of want to hop around and see if I like the entire country or if I like multiple cities, how does it fit? How does it fare? All of that in terms of what I'm looking for. Hey, Steve, what's up? Yep, I've waited all this week. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know that Greece is top of all. Okay, yeah. So you'll like this. Now it's not gonna be like a smoking gun. But it's a smoking gun for me because once I realized I could do this, I was just extremely happy. So anyway, yeah, I decided since I'm considering this place. Let me just tell you, any place that has a 6-month or 12-month visa, I just look at them as opportunities. Like, oh, is this a place that I want to live? Because I want to check out as many places as I possibly can as potential long-term, home bases, right? And it's really cool to go places and that you would never have had on your list. I think everybody I told that I was in Albania was like, I don't know anybody from Albania who's been in Albania, who went to Albania. Why did you go to Albania, Ali? That visa number is right up. So I've already been there for 11 days, and and I think it resets every 90. So if you leave and if you're gone for 90 days, it'll restart if you go back. But if I go back within less than 90 days, it'll just pick back up the count, the 360-day count from what I already use, is what I understand. We're going to find out when I return, because I do plan on returning. So, yeah, I knew I had 11 days, and I decided, well, I'm not going to sit in one city. Let's see how easy it is to move around. Well, I knew they have bus systems. So, just do some Google searches. Y'all know, check out my travel course out there, and I talk about different ways to figure out how to navigate around other cities, different countries and stuff like that. It's not too far-fetched or too different from the States, except I think typically in the States we go rent a car. If we don't have our own car, we go and rent a car, we fly somewhere, and we Uber or whatever. But in other places, buses is a big thing. Trains are a big thing. And so doing a little bit of homework before you go all in, because it's kind of at least nice to know how close you are to the transportation, or you got to take transportation to get to the transportation. Can you walk if you're a walker? Do they have ride share? What's available? So on and so forth, right? So I did a little bit of leg work before I landed. Kind of decided that I was going to do a couple day trips, like one to Macedonia, because you could just jump over the borderline and go to the northern city, because so Kosovo and Macedonia are to the north and east, north and northeast, and then Montenegro is to the northwest side, and then Greece is right southeast, right? And so I was looking at the tours, and the tours were even expensive, like $200-300. And I was like, all right, do I want to splurge that for an 11-day trip? Do I want to do that? Or do I just kind of want to muddle around and just see how easy it is to move around? So I decided to muddle around, you guys. Y'all know me. So I spent the first few days in a meeting a fellow American. She popped into Albania the same day that I did. We had previously chatted. Y'all, some of these social media apps platforms are great for meeting travel buddies. And so we had chatted before from another group and decided if we land around the same time, if we're there at the same time, catch up, grab coffee, whatever, chat. And we did, and it was really cool. She was cool lady here from the States. And she's taking advantage of this 1-year visa that we get as well, right? And so I decided to go ahead and jump on a bus. Buses anywhere $14-20. I don't know if they're even any more than that, but just for like local, so you can take a bus from Tirana, which is where I was, down to Saranda for $20, $19.99, and that's with a service fee attached to it, right? And you can buy your ticket online. I love those little nuances when you have access like that, and you can you don't pick your seat, so you still need to get to the bus station. I'll do a whole thing on the bus thing, but you get to the bus station, they assign a seat for you. You do have assigned seats, but really easy. I will actually share the bus line in the description. It's albaniabus.com is what I used, and it gives you all the different bus lines or times and routes that you can take and all that kind of stuff, and the prices that are associated with it, right? So I was like, okay, bet I'll go down to Saranda, because everybody's like, go to Saranda, and Saranda's on the coast south, and it's the border with Corfu. So that's like a 4.5 to 5 hour bus ride. So if you can muscle it out, if you like get motion sickness, like I have started to, get you some Dramamine or some of the little motion ease to put behind your ears, and it's not so bad. But I will tell you 100% what bus not to take. But I'm gonna do that in another video, because then I'm gonna be talking about that whole bus ride, and I'm gonna get sidetracked. So $20 to get down to Saranda. Spend a few days on the coast, and then let's see how easy it is to go to Greece. Y'all, I went to Saranda. Loved it. Loved the environment. It is touristy, so it didn't feel like one of those places that I would go and necessarily live. I could potentially do it for like 2 weeks to maybe a month, off season. That's cool to do, but then I was like, what else can I do from here? And so I started checking tours and different like attractions around the Saranda area. Went and saw a really cool historical location. Well, two. We went to the Blue Lake, which is a place that now everybody goes, but it's just like one of those places where you see, it's like as vibrant and colorful as like Avatar, right? All the colors and all this stuff, and then you're like, oh, it must be fake. It must be photoshopped or something like that. No, it's literally it. Like, I don't even think you need a filter. And I have photos, but I was like, you don't even need a filter on your phone. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. This is a deep blue hole. You're not supposed to dive in. There's a dude diving in it, and everybody was kind of like, you're not supposed to be in the hole. And he was like, excuse me, you guys. And he was like, no, I have permission to dive. And a lot of the locals weren't happy with that because it clearly says stay out of the water. So we did that, and then we did one of the well-known historical, like, it's not a castle town, but it's an old town ruin area. You can walk through it and get all the history. You really need a tour guide that can explain a lot of the stuff to you. It's very intriguing information, and just one of the sites that we went to was huge, and I'll actually put that in the description as well. So that's what we did in Saranda. And then it was like the next day, we kind of hit this area a little bit. It's just a beachfront. Really don't need to do anything inland. Let's check out this ferry situation, because you could see the ferry boats, and then they had these ones that raise up, the hydraulics lift up, and then they have like other ferry boats. And I was like, well, let's see what the price is. You can go right up to the gate and buy a ticket. I don't necessarily suggest that if it's like a peak or a weekend or something like that. You're probably going to want to go online and purchase. You can purchase online, and I'll give you that link in the description as well. But went and check that out online first, just to see what time, so we could have it kind of planned out. Check out of a hotel. We don't need to leave our things. We just had small backpacks. Bam, jump on a ferry. The ferry cost. Now, this is how you can get to Greece for less than $25. Get to surrounding countries that you already want to check out. This is the benefit, like, of being in places that have like excellent proximity. If you're a person who likes to check out other things, check out other places, right? We ended up meeting a guy who was on our tour in Saranda, and he was like, we were like, hey man, we're doing the ferry to Greece, tomorrow or whatever. And he was like, I do one country per trip. And we're like, nah, it's like right here. And here's me, I'm like, how can you be this close? And he had never been to Greece, wanted to go to Greece and not go, right? I was like, how do you, but some people, everybody travels different. And so that's why I like sharing this information, so you can kind of, decide how you're going to, integrate these things in your next travel plans, or if you're going to plan something solely where you kind of fly in and you directly go to that area, rather than flying directly into Greece or something where the cost may be much higher, or not even necessarily much higher, but you got like 3 stops because it doesn't fly direct. Well, if you're going to have 3 stops, why not pop through a couple cities and see a few things? And so this is one of the ways that I share how to do that, like how to get the most out of your time and your dollars. So anyway, decided to jump on this ferry. The ferry was 22 USD. 22 USD. The first ferry we took over was just a regular benches, no seats assigned. I don't think any of them have seats assigned, but just benches, and you kind of sit and you get it's open air. So, it happened to be a great day, so it wasn't super hot. Y'all, when you're in Saranda, you can look up and you just see this huge island mountain situation. That's a place called Corfu. Corfu, Greece. It's right there. Like, you just like, what is that? Because at first I was like, is that Italy? And I was like, well, no, it's too big the way that it looks. So, when you look at a map and you realize, even directionally impaired, that it's south, then you realize, oh, that's like Greece. Like, that huge, humongous place that you see is an island of Greece. And so I was like, oh man, we have to go. Y'all, it's on the slow ferry, it's an hour, maybe a little over an hour, depending on, I don't know, if I guess they slow it down a little bit. But the fast ferry, which is the same price, maybe a little bit more depending on what time of the day you go. And when I mean a little bit more, I mean like $1 or two more. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. It's 30 minutes. Like I'm in Dallas and it took me 50 minutes to get to the from the airport to the area that I stay in. 50 minutes. Like quantify that. Like you put that into context, right? I'm in a state and in the same city and it takes me 50 minutes. But I could jump on a ferry and be in another country. Get stamps and everything. So I got a couple tips for you guys. Z said, welcome back. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me back. And yes, a long-term visa is a great chance to really assess a country's potential. Yes. Yes. He gets you excited right out the gate too, because you feel like, okay, there's I could be more open with what I want and what I may accept in terms of what that country has to offer. So a couple things. I already mentioned that you could buy your bus ticket. So you could fly right into Saranda, Durrës, Tirana, and Vlorë. I think it's Vlorë. Have airports. Well, Saranda, Tirana, and Durrës have airports. I believe Durrës has an airport. Durrës is only 30 minutes from Tirana, so it might not have an airport. I have to look it up, y'all. I just like drew a mind brain freeze. But Saranda definitely has an airport, and so does Tirana. But it's not like you can't necessarily fly into Saranda direct from Thailand. It's gonna fly you into Tirana, and then you'll get another plane. So check out Tirana first for a few days. I like Tirana. I will most likely live in Tirana because it's a nice, big, bustling city. Awesome people, good food options. Prices are pretty good. So I'll probably be there for a little bit. So that's the first thing, is knowing which city you're going to fly into and take advantage and, spend some time in Tirana so that you get a good price on that flight, and then you can take a bus or fly down to Saranda. We took a bus, $20 on the bus. And you can see the coastline or inland. So this is what I'm going to recommend. So this is what I'll recommend. If you're going from Tirana, you can stop in Durrës, which is one of the other main coastal cities. So you could like hop off the bus, then hop off, anything like that. But you one other city, maybe even stay overnight and then catch another bus and go down to either Vlorë, which is in between Durrës and Saranda. Check out another coastal city if you want. And then from Vlorë to Saranda. When you get to Saranda, you can kind of be on the boardwalk or a couple streets over, a couple tiers over, but everything's super close, super easy to walk around. Grab a hotel. They're at the tail end of peak season, so going in October is fantastic timing. October, November, December starts to get cold. It gets about 13, 15 degrees coldest Celsius. So, Fahrenheit, Celsius. So that's about 55 degrees, maybe a little bit colder. So not horribly bad. Considering I'm a tropical person and do not like the cold at all. So I figured that during that time I'll spend a lot of time on the coast, right? Because it's so easy. It's very accessible. So that's two things to kind of know, is flying into a main city and then consider taking the public transportation like a bus down, right? You could take it directly from Tirana. It's going to pass through all the other places. So like I said, if you want to stop and get off, you can do that. So that's like a little side tip. You get down to Saranda, maybe plan to stay 2 days so you could stay overnight and at least check out the city surrounding area and different things. It's not like a whole lot going on, but they have some cool tours from there. And then you can also just take a tour over to Greece. Like you could sign up, buy a tour, get your guide, TripAdvisor, whatever, and book a tour. Or you could do what me and a friend did, and that is jump on the ferry line and buy a ferry ticket and go over on your own and spend some time. Corfu has a hop on, hop off bus, which is one of the easiest ways to really get like a really quick glance of the city, just to see the southern area. So this little part, not the whole island. They don't do a tour around the whole island on a hop on, hop off, but it gives you a nice enough glance to kind of see the areas that people frequent. You go by the airports, you kind of see proximity of that, and then you go by Old Town, but you have to walk through Old Town, right? So that's going to be one of my other tips, jumping ahead of myself. So if you're going to, okay, so if you know that you're going to go to Greece or any other country, but we're just going to say this for Greece. When you are coming into Albania, you have to go through immigration at the airport, whichever airport you land at. In Tirana, they have automated lines, automated passport lines. We love those. Oh my God, let's go through those because it's so much easier. Well, you don't get a stamp when you go through those. It's an electronic notification that you have entered the country, right? But when you're going to another place, they just leave through looking for your stamp from the place that you're in. Number one, to check your visa term, have you overstayed, because there's penalties in a lot of places if you overstay. So they're looking for that. And also, are you here legitimately? Are you legally here? They don't want any issues or any problems and stuff. And so when you go through an automated line, I gotta get a stamp. Normally, this is not a problem until you get an immigration officer in another country that does not understand that, gets riled up, gets a little agitated, and really just can't figure it out, which is what happened when we got to Greece. And so she was looking for the Albania stamp, which there wasn't one because I came in through the airport and I went through the auto lines and didn't get a stamp. But I'm clearly in Albania. I just took a ferry over. I'm coming through the line like everybody else. She wanted to know, well, where were you? When did you leave the U.S.? And I was like, last year. So another unique thing about traveling long term is they don't understand that. Like she thought I didn't understand her, and I was like, where's your stamp before here? And I showed her September 12th is when I left, and I arrived in Albania on the 13th because I was coming from Thailand and my flight was at 3 a.m. in the morning, right? So the stamp shows September 12th from Thailand because I was in Dubai overnight, but I didn't land in Albania until the next day. And she was like, no, where's your show me from Albania? She goes, well, where were you before that? And I'm like rattling off. She was like, well, where have you been? And so I'm just naming each of the cities, I was in Belize, Panama, Ecuador, Colombia, Costa Rica, Vietnam, boom, boom, boom. And so I'm just leafing through the passport so she can see the stamps are there. She was so frustrated. And I kept saying Thailand, and she didn't understand Thailand at all. And it was really weird because it's like, yeah, you don't know every country, but as an immigration officer, one of the things I can't be the first person that has come through this line that didn't have an Albania stamp, because your airport offers, when you walk in, there's like 50 kiosks for automated passport, immigration control. And then you can go to the glass, which is funny because I didn't even see the people in the glass because I probably would have gone there so I could have the stamp. Because the lines were really light. There weren't anybody in the lines. It's awesome to go through the automation when, it's crowded, but it wasn't. And I, just wasn't thinking. I was just like, oh, this is the option they have. Singapore is the same thing. You're going to go through automated lines and you won't get a stamp. You won't get a sticker. You won't get anything, right? And so she could not understand that, and I was like, God, is there going to be a problem? But right before that too, just a quick tidbit, she just seemed like an agitated person because the two guys before us actually had like Greece, I believe Greece IDs, but they were using their passport because maybe they weren't Greece, because you can go to other countries and get ID. So, like, if I have long term residency, I may have a driver's license in another country, but I may use my US passport, or just, naturally just think to use my US passport and not my ID, especially if I want the stamp. I'll use my passport, right? Anyway, I don't know what the guy's situation was, but she would like threw their passports back. She was already agitated because she didn't understand their situation, and then she got upset because they had IDs and didn't need to use their passports. So when she got to me, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be something. So just to avoid any of that, and the possibility that when you go to the next place, specifically in Albania, you might get someone who just doesn't understand. If you're flying directly in from like the States or whatever, you can easily answer, oh, I was just in the States on this day, and it makes sense. If you travel like me, just know that um, this is one of those places where I would just go through the people operated immigration control booths, okay? Because she finally stamped me. She did stamp me, but she was so agitated. She was just, and I mean, she was just like, Thailand, and she couldn't say it. She was so frustrated, and I was just like, Thailand, Asia, like Southeast Asia, and I'm like, how do you say Thailand? Like, what else can I say that makes Thailand more clear? And she was like not having it. But had I had the Albania stamp for September 13th, she would have seen it, and probably not have had any problem with stamp. So my friend, she was behind me, she just opened hers and was like, just go. And so you do get your stamp arriving and leaving. But that is one tip I would say. If you're flying in and you know that you're going to hop countries, you know that you're going to go from, Albania to Italy or Albania to Greece, just go through the people lines. Go through the people lines um, at the airport, and you can avoid that. All right. And so, bought my ferry ticket. And the ferry ticket, like I mentioned before, is like $22. Maybe a little bit more, like I said, depending on the day or even the season or something like that, or the time that you're traveling. But $22, our first trip was an hour because we ended up getting on the slower boat because that's what was available. Didn't want to wait 2 hours. They have like maybe 8 or more. Maybe 10 ferries a day. More than 10 ferries. 4 boats. I think they have 4 different boats, and each one of those has like 10 rides. Like every 30 minutes, boom, hit 30. So probably every 45 minutes, and then every hour to 2 hours on 2 other boats. So quite a few opportunities to jump over. And then once you get there, you can walk right off the boat, bam, and hop off bus for $19, pay the 24, whatever, you get 2 days. If you know you're going to spend the night, then you're take advantage of the 2 days so you can do it kind of slow on your own pace. It's not a huge place, but if you want to you want to go in the museums, or you want to go in the castle, or the castle. There's a couple little fortresses and big fortresses, I should say. If you want to actually take time to walk around those and do the 2 days, if you can handle spending the night somewhere, do the 2 days. Hotels right along the water port area. Fantastic hotels. Food was amazing. So I love like Mediterranean food, and they had all those options like olives, and we had zucchini critters, basically is what they were, but they were like creamy on the inside, and they had their tzatziki which you're gonna get like with everything, from the freshest tomatoes ever. But you can get those in Saranda. Saranda has some of the freshest tomatoes as well. Anyway, taking the time to kind of just explore. We did the hop on hop off bus first for the $20, and we're like, okay, from there let's just decide if we're going to spend the night, or jump on a ferry and head back to Saranda. Do we stay another night in Saranda, or not, because we had already spent 2 nights. So we were like, okay, let's eat and then decide, why don't we spend the night so we can check out the nightlife in Corfu. So I don't know, if you guys have been to Spain. One city in particular that Corfu, the old town area, reminds me of is a place called Malaga, Spain. Oh my gosh, like a downscale, a downscale Malaga. But so it just, everything about it was Malaga to me. And like once the streets come to life, probably like 3:30ish time frame. They don't eat till 8 p.m. But everybody's out for their drinks. All the bars, all the streets are lit up. All the tables are out. I mean, it's got that feel. You've got some places where you've got some music playing. I didn't see a lot of live music venues, which is something that I love. But we were like right on the coast, so excuse me. It was like a perfect kind of combination of, what do I want to say, like senses, right? So we had the sounds. We also had just like universal sounds and music and stuff like that. Like everybody plays like some of the same music and everything, so you have that familiarity. And then just people, you had what you knew were tourists, and then like the local, but not a whole lot of locals. I imagine most of the people there were expats or tourists, short-term tourists. But the streets were packed. And not packed in a bad way, but like you could people watch, and everybody was super kind. Everybody we met, it was just so very pleasant to be there. And like I said, like the like a city, the island in and of itself has enough attractions throughout the island. I'm thinking in my mind of the the red and the blue line on the hop on hop off bus, that you can kind of get a feel for the a little part of Greece. Of course, it ain't Athens, but this is what's coming next. So that's the my easy way how I got over to Greece, for $25, for less than $25. But I could be in Saranda, or no, Tirana, and fly to Athens for, drum roll, how much do you think, you guys? Welcome to everyone and anyone else who has joined. As we're talking about how I jumped over to Greece for less than $25 from Albania. But drum roll on how much you think the cost is to fly from Tirana to Athens. Non-peak season, of course. But even during peak season, they're not even that. They're like maybe double this price. I'm gonna say it like, and you guys will see this later, and you'll guess the price, what it was. But if you look in comments, $14, $14. So yeah, of course, the $14 is basic economy flight. Maybe you just have your bag or something like that, or if you're gonna stay like a few days or something, you have a small bag. This is one of the reasons why proximity for me has become so important, because if there are things around it that I want to do and I can go and visit, like you guys know, I'm gonna pull this up right now. Flying from the States to Greece, you probably got real cheap prices right now. You know how when you want to look up something because you're not gonna do it, like it's like, you know, the best deal. You're like, wait a minute, that deal wasn't available. But I'm gonna look this up really quick. I'm gonna do from DFW, just to kind of level set. Um, maybe I'm not. Hold on. My Wi-Fi's not working. But proximity allows you access to so many things sometimes, and taking that into consideration when you're planning on flying, or you're like, um, let's say you've got 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you're like, well, I'm going to a place. Should I go and visit something else? This is like, it's so helpful to know what other things you could do, where you can pop in and out of. That is really easy. Hold on. I'm trying to sign into the Wi-Fi, right? So I can pull this up just to show you guys, because I'm very visual in this, uh, as far as this is concerned, like looking for, when you're looking for flights and things like that, and really kind of just seeing real time what's available. So if I did DFW to Athens, and I know a lot of people go to Mykonos or Santorini, and even maybe some of the other islands and things like that, and that's wonderful and fantastic. I'm gonna do myself a favor and make it for November 1. I make it for November 1, so it seems a little bit more fair, and that's like a Wednesday, right? Just so you can see what the price is, what's the going rate right now, and that's low season, so the price should be pretty reasonable. Um, from DFW, long flights, of course. And I'll be sharing a little bit about my trip back home and some of the things that I would hope that I don't do again, i.e., like in terms of which airline I fly. But like right now, I'm looking at $600 one way. Okay, my bad. Most people are going to be flying round trip, so it's going to be, let's say, about $1,400, and that's actually pretty cheap. When you think about going to Greece. But the majority of the time, we're looking at 1,500 or more just for your airfare. Just for your airfare alone, a lot of times. So let's just see. They got like an Air Canada flight. So while we're just chatting, while this is pulling up, one of the things that a lot of people have asked me, especially even on this trip coming back, what's the draw for me to be gone for so long, or not want to reside full time in the States? And I think it's been like this resounding, where am I at peace? Most, where am I at ease? Where do I feel in my most calm state? Not necessarily like valuing like the word happiness, like where are you happiest, but it kind of falls in that, like, but for me it's like the peace and the ease of living, like where do I get the most comfort. But but also adventure. Like I know I'm in a place where I have access to the things that I'd like to do or always wanted to do. And so this has become, Albania has actually become one of those places, but just generalizing, Europe and Asia are major hubs for me to move around. So if you guys were to pull up a map, you would get the gist, like you'd be able to see like what's really, really close. And that's what I do, is kind of go on and say, from Albania to everywhere, what are the prices, and which cities are included in that. Maybe that's $200 to fly to Montenegro, but maybe it's $60 on a bus or something like that. So taking that in consideration. Okay, y'all. So I just pulled up round trip from Dallas to Athens, and it's looking like they have $600 flights, direct with the airline. It looks like it's $600. So, and this is in November, which is non-peak season. So that's another little tip for you guys. If you're going to be taking these trips, or you're wanting to see some places that you had on your bucket list forever, and they're typically expensive places, do as much as you can to go off season. And when you go off season, not only it's just a couple benefits of going off season. It's less crowded. Prices are lower, sometimes significantly lower. You have the kind of like more access and freedom, because everything isn't this hustle bustle, get in, get one person in, get one person out, get the next person out, this constant movement thing, where you actually have a little bit of time to experience the place that you're in, the culture and the people, so going off season has a myriad of benefits. So consider that. I know sometimes you can't. It's like, I got kids in school. I want to take them on this trip. So we got to go during summer months, right? We have to go through during Christmas break. We have to, so I get that. But if you have the option, if you have some flexibility, in terms of the decision that you make when you go, consider going an off peak. Because what if it's like some tourist attraction that you want to see, and it's always packed because you're going during busy season, and so you're never going to really get to experience. Maybe the place you're going has some real spiritual, something spiritual about it, and you want to experience that, or feel it or see it. And it's hard to do that when it's inundated with a lot of folks. I prefer to travel when ain't nobody there. Like you can walk around and like hear a twig break. But yeah, I'm looking at right now. So anybody who wants to go to Greece for under $700, it looks like you can book a flight with Air Canada, and Air Canada, I believe, is pretty good, for less than $650. So, in the grand scheme, if you plan in advance, you can get a pretty good ticket price. And then from there, decide where you're going to go, and if you're going to even hop, let's say, around Greece. But for me, if I'm already in a place like Albania, and I'm just going to pull this up, because why not? Why not Tirana, Albania, and then go to Athens, and I'm gonna do a round trip and just see what the cost is. And I'm gonna show you guys what the cost is. I don't know if y'all can see that. I don't know if it's showing in clear or not, so I will read it. $58 round trip on Wizz Air. So if all you got is a bag, you're gonna stay for a couple of days, maybe even for a week, and you could put a lot of things in a carry-on bag for a week, right? You can go for $58. You can do the same things with Italy too, you guys. I can literally, if I just say, I'm just gonna say Italy, from Tirana to Italy round trip. Starting off at $24 for Pisa, 27 for Milan, 28 for Rome. This round trip. Venice is 28, Bari, Turin, Genoa, Naples is 53, Verona is 53. And those are like the base starting amounts or starting prices. So if I were to say everybody goes to Milan, let's put Venice. Let me see Florence on there. Should be able to fly to Florence. So if you go in November, it's a direct flight. So that's the other thing you want to see is like, oh my God, is that price based on it's got to stop 15 times, and a 3 hour trip turns into 28 hours. This is a direct flight for $28 round trip. This is why like I get so super excited when I travel to places like this and I know I want to explore a little bit more because of the access that I am going to have. And so when you see prices like that, you can't beat that. This is better than a bus. And it's quicker. It's an hour, 40-minute flight. Okay? So that is one way that you can get from, well, how I got from Tirana to Saranda to Greece for $22, and how, you know, this part of this, just showing you how you can fly to these other places. And so let's say I flew to Tirana for $500 and then went to Greece for $28. Um, it's around the price of the round trip right now because of low season. But if you're going during mid to high peak season, that number is going to jump up tremendously. So kind of getting a handle on understanding when those peak times, when those peak seasons are. You definitely want to know that. You could be, just another side note, you could actually be going to a place that's cold. And just because it's cold doesn't mean that it's off season, non peak season, because that may be their draw. It's like going to Colorado, like Rockies, or going to Colorado, ski resorts and stuff like that. It's super expensive when there's snow. It's probably expensive when there's not, because I'm sure it's just as beautiful with all the greenery. But I would bet some big money, and I'm not a Colorado person like my brother is. Like, he loves Colorado. So it's not someplace that I would envision, ooh, I gotta get to Colorado. But yeah, it's one of those places that during peak season it's high, and off peak season you might catch some good deals. So kind of knowing, you know, how you want to move around is really important. But yeah, getting to Greece can be as cheap or as expensive as your schedule, your lifestyle allows for it to be. And so for me, like I said, I am planning my life, or kind of, I don't know, setting myself up in. Oh, hold on, you guys. My light went out. Oh, my power went out, you guys. So, so I'm gonna use my phone. So that must be my cue. It went black, radio darkness. Um, but yeah, that's basically how I ended up doing that for this particular trip that I took to Greece. And I'll actually probably post some little snippets of little things that I did in town. And like I said, it was literally one day because I spent the night. But it was well worth the $25, $22 to get there, and $22 to get back. So definitely recommend it if you want some tips on Corfu, or the taking the ferry or anything like that, or the buses, or what I think of Albania, please just let me know and I will share that with you. I apologize to you guys for like, there's always like something weird. And I had to do this video even though I was exhausted, you guys, just from the last few days of just hustling and bustling and everything being in the States. Just there's always things to do once I get here. I'm just like running around. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me, even though like I'm exhausted. I was yawning all this time. So that was probably my cue. It's time to go to bed, get some rest, and I will come back and share some more things with you. But super exciting to share like some of these things, like how easy it is to see more of the world if you are open to some of the flexibilities that you can exercise if you're in places and you've got a little bit of time on your hand. So all right, you guys, I'm gonna get out of here. See if I can flick a switch somewhere in this joint and get some light recirculating. But I appreciate you guys always for uh, checking in for the any new content that I'm sharing, checking some of my old content, and leaving me feedback on what you guys want to hear. I still haven't found my flow. I'm hoping like once I get back to Albania and sit down for a year, I can get back into the flow that I had when I was in Africa, like my videos and stuff, and just sharing with you guys was just more regular. And I would like to be able to do that again. But I've just been moving around like crazy. No complaints. No complaints. I'm grateful for all of it. But hoping to kind of chill out for a little bit coming up here soon. So anyway, you guys, if any of these things are helpful or you just like hearing my stories and what's going on, I'd love for you to click that subscribe button, click that notification bell so you know when I post a new video or go live, and tell a friend, share it, like it, and leave me a comment, you guys. So I'm gonna get out of here. I'm in darkness. I got shadows. All right, I'm out. You guys know the drill. Toodles and noodles, peace, and hair grease. See if I can make it turn off.